Wind moves slowly across the desert. Sand drifts across an ancient hillside. Somewhere in the cliffs of Upper Egypt, a discovery was waiting. Not gold, not treasure, but something far more dangerous. Knowledge. In the winter of 1945, a farmer digging for fertilizer near the town of Nag Hammadi struck something buried beneath the earth. A sealed clay jar. Inside that jar were 13 ancient books, papyrus manuscripts wrapped in leather, texts that had been hidden for nearly 16 centuries. Among them was a mysterious work known today as the Gospel of Truth, a text unlike the 4 Gospels found in the New Testament. This Gospel does not describe miracles in Galilee. It does not recount parables told beside the sea. Instead, it speaks of something deeper, something hidden, something humanity once knew, but somehow forgot. And according to this ancient message, the greatest problem facing humanity is not simply sin. It is forgetfulness. The year was 1945. The world had just emerged from the devastation of the Second World War. Entire cities lay in ruins. Humanity was asking deep questions about morality, truth, and the nature of civilization. And while the world was rebuilding itself, an extraordinary discovery was taking place in the Egyptian desert. Near the Nile River, a farmer named Muhammad Ali al-Salman dug into the earth searching for sabak fertile soil, used as fertilizer. Instead, his shovel struck a large clay jar. At first he hesitated to open it. Local superstition warned that sealed jars might contain dangerous spirits, but curiosity won. He broke the jar open. Inside were ancient books, papyrus manuscripts written in the Coptic language. Over the next few years, scholars would slowly piece together what had been discovered. These manuscripts formed what we now call the Nag Hammadi Library. More than 50 ancient texts, many of them previously unknown. Among them were writings attributed to early Christian thinkers. Texts like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, and the mysterious Gospel of Truth. For centuries, historians had known these writings existed. Early church leaders had mentioned them while arguing against certain Christian groups. But the texts themselves had vanished. Now they had been found, hidden in the desert for over 1,600 years. Why were they buried? Who hid them? And what did they contain that someone once believed it was too dangerous to leave in the open? To understand the Gospel of Truth, we must travel back nearly 2,000 years, to the early centuries of Christianity. Today, many people assume that early Christians all believed the same things, but history tells a very different story. The early Christian world was incredibly diverse. Different communities held different interpretations of the teachings of Jesus. Some focused on moral teachings. Others emphasized prophecy. Still others explored mystical interpretations of spiritual knowledge. One group in particular became known for emphasizing hidden wisdom. Later, historians would call them Gnostics. The word Gnostic comes from the Greek word Gnosis, meaning knowledge. But this was not ordinary knowledge. It was spiritual insight. Knowledge about the nature of reality. Knowledge about humanity's divine origin. And knowledge about how to awaken from spiritual ignorance. One of the most famous teachers associated with this movement was a 2nd century Christian thinker named Valentinus. Valentinus was highly respected. He taught in Rome and attracted many followers. Some historians even believe he was once considered as a candidate for Bishop of Rome, but his ideas eventually became controversial. His followers preserved writings that explored spiritual symbolism and mystical interpretations of Jesus' teachings. Many scholars believe the gospel of truth emerged from this intellectual world. The gospel of truth does not read like a traditional gospel. There is no birth story, no description of miracles, no narrative about the resurrection. Instead, the text reads almost like a sermon or a meditation. It reflects on profound philosophical questions. Why does humanity suffer? Why do people feel lost in the world? Why do we experience confusion about our purpose? The writer offers a surprising answer. Humanity suffers because it has forgotten its origin. In the beginning, according to this message, humanity existed in harmony with the divine source of life. But somehow that connection was lost, not destroyed, not erased, but forgotten. Like a person waking from a dream who struggles to remember where they came from. And this forgetfulness created what the text calls error. Error is not simply incorrect information. Error is a state of spiritual confusion. It is the fog that settles over human consciousness when truth is forgotten. When that happens, people begin searching everywhere for answers. They create philosophies, religions, political systems, empires. Yet the deeper question remains unanswered. Who are we? And why do we feel like strangers in the world? According to the gospel of truth, the arrival of Jesus represents a turning point in human history. But the text presents his role differently from traditional narratives. Jesus appears not only as a savior, but as a revealer, someone who came to remind humanity of what it had forgotten. The text describes people as wandering in confusion, searching for something they cannot quite name, like travelers lost in the dark. Then suddenly a light appears. That light reveals the path. Jesus, in this interpretation, brings knowledge of the Father, the source of all existence. Through his teaching, people begin to remember their true identity, not merely as citizens of earthly kingdoms, but as beings connected to the divine source. For those who recognize this message, the experience is described as joy. The text begins with a celebration of this joy, because discovering truth is like remembering a long-forgotten home. If the gospel of truth contained such powerful ideas, why was it buried? The answer lies in the conflicts of early Christianity. As Christian communities grew, leaders began defining which teachings were considered orthodox. Texts that supported those teachings were preserved and copied. Others were rejected. Some were labeled dangerous. Over time, many alternative writings disappeared. Some were destroyed. Others were hidden. Many scholars believe that when church leaders ordered certain texts to be banned in the 4th century, monks or believers hid these manuscripts in the desert to preserve them. If that is true, the Nag Hammadi discovery represents a remarkable survival, a library buried in the sand, waiting for centuries until the modern world was ready to rediscover it. The gospel of truth raises questions that remain deeply relevant today. Why do humans feel disconnected from meaning? Why do people chase success yet still feel empty? Why does the modern world produce so much knowledge, yet still struggle with wisdom? The ancient writer suggests a simple answer. Humanity is searching for something it once knew, something hidden within memory, something called truth. And truth, according to this message, does not come through force. It comes through recognition, like remembering a forgotten name, or suddenly realizing a dream you once had. As we continue this journey through the gospel of truth, we will explore the ideas hidden within this ancient text. Ideas about the nature of reality, the origin of consciousness, and the mysterious concept of awakening. But before we go further, one question remains. What if the greatest problem humanity faces is not ignorance alone, but forgetting who we truly are? In the next episode, we explore the first and most important concept of the gospel of truth, the idea that humanity suffers from a profound spiritual amnesia, a forgetting that shapes the entire human story, and perhaps the key to rediscovering the truth. Imagine waking up one morning in a place you have never seen before. You look around, the buildings feel unfamiliar. The people do not recognize you. Even your own reflection seems strange. You know you exist, but you do not know who you are, or where you came from, or how you arrived here. That is the condition the gospel of truth says humanity lives in. A kind of spiritual amnesia, not total ignorance, but a partial forgetting. A forgetting so deep that most people do not even realize it has happened. And according to the ancient message preserved in the gospel of truth, this forgetting explains the confusion of the human story. When people talk about humanity's deepest problem, they often use the word sin, but the gospel of truth begins somewhere different. It begins with ignorance, not ignorance in the sense of stupidity, but ignorance in the sense of lost memory. The writer describes a moment in which humanity became separated from the knowledge of its origin. The connection between humanity and the divine source was not destroyed, but it was hidden, covered, obscured, like sunlight behind thick clouds. And when that connection faded from awareness, something unexpected happened. Fear entered the world, because when beings forget where they came from, they begin to feel alone, isolated, vulnerable. The result was the birth of what the text calls error. The gospel of truth uses a mysterious word repeatedly, error. Error is not simply wrong ideas. Error is a state of confusion that spreads through human experience. Imagine trying to navigate through a dense fog. You can see shapes, but you cannot see clearly. You make decisions based on incomplete information. Sometimes those decisions lead you closer to safety. Other times they lead you further into danger. Human civilization, according to this text, developed inside such a fog. People created explanations for the world, philosophies, religions, empires, but these systems often reflected the confusion of their creators. Without knowledge of the true source, humanity struggled to understand its purpose, and so the world filled with competing visions of truth, each claiming to hold the answer, yet none fully resolving the mystery of existence. Why, if humanity forgot its origin, what would the world look like? The gospel of truth suggests several consequences. First, people would search constantly for meaning. Every culture in history has attempted to answer the same questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? What happens after death? Second, people would build identities around temporary things, wealth, power, status, nationality, beliefs. These identities become substitutes for deeper understanding, but they rarely satisfy the deeper longing within the human heart. Third, conflict would arise, because when people are uncertain about truth, they often defend their beliefs aggressively. History provides many examples. Wars fought over ideology, religious conflicts, political revolutions. all attempts to impose order upon a confusing world. Yet beneath all these struggles lies a deeper problem. Humanity has forgotten something essential. Despite this forgetfulness, the gospel of truth insists that the memory of truth was never completely erased. Instead, it remained hidden inside human consciousness, like a faint echo, or a distant voice. Sometimes people sense it unexpectedly. A feeling that life must have a deeper purpose, a moment of awe while looking at the stars, a sudden awareness that the universe seems strangely meaningful. These moments suggest that something within us remembers more than we consciously know. The writer describes this as a seed of knowledge planted within the soul. Most people ignore it. They become distracted by the noise of everyday life. But some individuals begin searching. They feel drawn toward understanding, toward truth, toward the source. And according to the gospel of truth, those seekers play an important role in the story of awakening. Ignorance might seem harmless, but the gospel of truth portrays it as the root of many human problems. When people lack knowledge of their origin, they become vulnerable to deception. False ideas spread easily. Powerful leaders manipulate beliefs. Fear becomes a tool of control. History demonstrates this pattern repeatedly. Civilizations rise and fall based on the ideas people believe about themselves and the world. If those ideas are rooted in confusion, the results can be destructive. The writer suggests that ignorance behaves almost like a force within the world. It spreads through misunderstanding, through assumptions, through unquestioned traditions. But there is one thing ignorance cannot survive: truth. How does awakening begin? The gospel of truth suggests that awakening begins with a simple realization. The realization that we do not fully understand reality. This moment can feel unsettling. People prefer certainty. They prefer stable explanations for the world. But true understanding often begins with questioning. Why do we exist? What is consciousness? Is reality deeper than what we perceive? These questions open the door to discovery, and according to the gospel of truth, that discovery ultimately leads back to the source of life itself. The ancient writer believed that humanity was not destined to remain trapped in confusion forever. The fog of ignorance could lift, memory could return, but this process required something extraordinary, a revelation, someone capable of reminding humanity of what had been forgotten, someone capable of speaking truth clearly enough to awaken those who were ready to hear it. That figure, according to the gospel of truth, was Jesus, but the text describes his mission differently from most familiar narratives. He did not come simply to establish a religion. He came to reveal knowledge. Knowledge about the Father, knowledge about the origin of humanity, knowledge about the hidden truth behind existence. And for those who recognized his message, awakening began. If the gospel of truth is correct, then the human story is not simply a history of civilizations. It is a story of memory and forgetting, a story of wandering and rediscovery, a story of beings searching for something they once knew. Perhaps that explains why humans continue asking the same questions generation after generation. Questions about purpose, questions about truth, questions about the source of life itself, because somewhere deep within us, a memory remains. A quiet reminder that our story began long before we were born, and that memory may be calling us to remember. In the next episode, we explore the mysterious figure described throughout the Gospel of Truth, the Father, the hidden source behind all existence, a reality so profound that the ancient writer believed it could only be understood through revelation, and understanding that source may be the key to awakening. Every civilization in human history has asked the same question. Where did everything come from? The stars above us, the earth beneath our feet, the mystery of consciousness itself. Some traditions describe many gods. Others describe a single creator. But the ancient writer of the Gospel of Truth describes something even more mysterious, a reality called simply the Father, not a ruler seated on a throne, not an image carved in stone, but the hidden source of existence itself, a reality so vast that everything we see, everything we know, and even our own lives exist because of it. And according to the Gospel of Truth, humanity's great forgetting began when people lost awareness of this source. The writer begins with a profound idea. The Father cannot truly be described. Human language struggles to express ultimate reality. Words rely on comparisons, but the source of existence has nothing greater to compare it to. So the writer uses metaphors. He describes the Father as fullness, a state of perfect completeness, a reality lacking nothing. Within this fullness exists the origin of life, knowledge, and consciousness. Everything that exists emerges from it, yet the source itself remains invisible, hidden, beyond ordinary perception. This idea might seem strange, but even modern science encounters similar mysteries. Scientists can describe the expansion of the universe. They can measure cosmic radiation. They can analyze particles smaller than atoms. But when they ask what ultimately gave rise to existence itself, the answer becomes far less certain. The Gospel of Truth suggests that behind the visible universe lies a deeper reality, a source that cannot be fully understood through physical observation alone. The text frequently uses a word translated as fullness. Fullness describes the state of divine completeness. Nothing is missing, nothing is lacking, everything exists in harmony. From this fullness flows creation, like light radiating from the sun, or water flowing from a spring. Creation is not separate from the source. It is an expression of the source. Yet as creation expands outward, distance from the source increases. And with that distance comes the possibility of forgetting. The further something moves from its origin, the easier it becomes to lose awareness of where it began. This concept forms the foundation for the story the Gospel of Truth tells about humanity. Within the fullness of the Father exists something extraordinary. Knowledge, not knowledge in the ordinary sense, but knowledge as awareness, understanding, recognition. This knowledge expresses itself through what the text calls the Word. The Word communicates the nature of the Father. It reveals what was previously hidden. Through the Word, the invisible source becomes knowable. In many early Christian writings, the concept of the Word is deeply important. It represents the bridge between the divine and the human world, the voice that speaks truth into confusion, the light that shines in darkness. But the Gospel of Truth emphasizes something specific. The purpose of the Word is remembrance, to remind humanity of what it once knew. When humanity forgot the Father, the consequences spread through every part of human experience. Without knowledge of the source, people began constructing explanations for the universe based on incomplete understanding. They attempted to explain life through myths and philosophies. Some ideas contained fragments of truth, others reflected fear and misunderstanding. But the central connection between humanity and its origin remained hidden. Imagine a child separated from their family at a young age. As they grow older, they may create stories about where they came from. Some stories may be partially correct. Others may be completely wrong. But until they rediscover their true origin, their identity remains uncertain. The Gospel of Truth suggests that humanity exists in a similar condition, searching for identity, searching for meaning, searching for the source. If the Father is the source of all life, why does the world appear so disconnected from that source? The Gospel of Truth gives a surprising answer. The Father is not truly absent. The Father is unknown. There is a difference between something being absent and something being unrecognized. The text compares this to a person searching for something they already possess. Imagine someone wearing a necklace while searching everywhere for it. The object was never lost. It was simply overlooked. In the same way, the presence of the divine source remains woven throughout creation. But humanity's awareness of that presence is faded. As a result, people experience life as if they are separated from the source. Yet the connection has never truly been broken. Because humanity forgot the Father, knowledge had to be restored through revelation. Revelation means uncovering what was hidden, revealing what was previously unseen. The Gospel of Truth presents revelation as an act of compassion. The source of existence desires to be known, not through force, not through fear, but through understanding. So the Word entered the world to reveal the truth, to speak in ways human beings could understand, to guide those searching for knowledge back toward the source. But revelation always faces resistance, because when people have lived within certain beliefs for a long time, new understanding can feel threatening. Some people welcome truth, others reject it. History repeatedly shows this pattern. Revolutionary ideas often encounter opposition, even when those ideas eventually transform the world. The Gospel of Truth describes awakening as an act of recognition, not learning something completely new, but remembering something ancient. When someone hears truth, something inside them responds, like recognizing a familiar voice or remembering a forgotten melody. The text suggests that people who awaken begin to see the world differently. They recognize the presence of the source within life itself. They begin to understand that existence is not random or meaningless. Instead, it flows from a deeper reality, a reality the text calls the Father. Once a person begins recognizing the source, a transformation begins. Fear gradually loses its power. Confusion begins to fade, because knowledge restores identity. The person realizes they are not merely products of chance or chaos. They belong to something greater, something ancient, something eternal. This realization marks the beginning of what the Gospel of Truth describes as returning to fullness, not physically leaving the world, but rediscovering the connection between humanity and its origin. And according to the text, this process of awakening began with a teacher whose message revealed the truth of the Father, a teacher whose words would transform history. His name was Jesus. The Gospel of Truth tells us that the greatest mystery of existence is not hidden somewhere in distant galaxies. It is hidden in the question of origin. Where did we come from? What is the source of life? And why does the human heart continue searching for something beyond the visible world? The ancient writer believed the answer lies in remembering the Father, the hidden source behind all reality. But remembering that truth requires revelation, a voice capable of awakening those who have forgotten. In the next episode, we explore the moment that voice entered the world, the arrival of the Word, and the mission of Jesus as the revealer of forgotten knowledge. A message that would challenge the powers of his time and change the course of history. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Throughout history, there have been teachers, philosophers, prophets, wise voices who tried to guide humanity toward truth. But the gospel of truth speaks about one figure who was different. Not simply a teacher, not merely a prophet, but the Word made visible, a messenger who came not only to speak truth, but to awaken memory. His mission was not to build an empire, not to gather political power, but to reveal something humanity had forgotten for generations, the knowledge of the Father, and according to the gospel of truth. When this message appeared in the world, it shook the foundations of human understanding. By the 1st century of the Common Era, the ancient Mediterranean world was filled with questions. Empires had risen and fallen. Philosophers debated the nature of reality. Religious traditions searched for meaning. The Roman Empire ruled vast territories, stretching across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Yet, despite its power, many people felt spiritually restless. Greek philosophy had explored logic and ethics. Mystery religions promised secret spiritual experiences. Jewish prophets spoke of a coming restoration. Across cultures, people were asking the same question: where's truth? And then, according to the gospel of truth, the answer appeared in human form. The Word entered the world. The gospel of truth describes Jesus not primarily as a miracle worker, but as a revealer, a messenger carrying knowledge from the Father. His role was to expose the illusions created by ignorance, to show humanity the truth hidden beneath confusion. The writer compares this revelation to light entering darkness. When a room is completely dark, people stumble. They misjudge distances. They collide with obstacles. But when light appears, everything becomes clear. The furniture was always there. The walls were always there. The path was always there. The light simply revealed what had been hidden. In the same way, the message of Jesus revealed the truth that humanity had forgotten. According to the gospel of truth, not everyone understood the message immediately. Some people heard his words and felt something awaken within them. They sensed truth. Something inside them responded, like a memory returning. Others reacted differently. They heard the same words, yet felt threatened. Why? Because truth can disrupt established systems. When people build identities around certain beliefs, new understanding can feel dangerous. History often shows this pattern. Revolutionary ideas challenge existing structures. The message of Jesus challenged the religious and social assumptions of his time. He spoke about the Father in ways that emphasized relationship rather than ritual. He described truth as something living within human awareness. And these ideas attracted both followers and critics. One of the central themes of the gospel of truth is remembrance. Jesus came to remind humanity of its origin. The writer describes people as wandering in confusion, searching for meaning but unable to find it. When Jesus spoke, his words functioned like a call to awaken. The message was not simply information. It was recognition. Those who understood began seeing themselves differently, no longer merely citizens of earthly kingdoms, but participants in a deeper reality connected to the Father. This transformation changed the way people viewed life itself. Fear began to lose its power, because knowledge replaced uncertainty. The gospel of truth uses symbolic language to describe awakening. One of its most powerful ideas involves the concept of the name. In ancient cultures, a name represented identity. To know someone's true name was to understand who they really were. The text suggests that humanity had forgotten its true name. People defined themselves through temporary identities: occupation, status, family, lineage, nationality. But these identities did not reveal the deeper truth of who they were. Jesus, according to the text, revealed the name of the Father, and through that revelation, people began remembering their own identity, like someone rediscovering their family after years of separation. If the message brought clarity and freedom, why did some reject it? The gospel of truth explains this through the concept of ignorance. Ignorance creates illusions, and people often become comfortable within those illusions. They build entire systems around them: religious traditions, political hierarchies, social expectations. When truth threatens those structures, resistance appears. Some leaders feared losing authority. Others feared the disruption of long-held beliefs. The message of Jesus revealed that truth was not controlled by institutions. It was accessible to anyone willing to awaken. For some people, this was liberating. For others, it was threatening. The gospel of truth describes the teachings of Jesus as a voice calling across the world, a voice inviting humanity to rediscover the source. The writer emphasizes that the message was never intended for a small group alone. It was meant for anyone capable of hearing it, anyone willing to search for truth. This idea reflects a powerful belief that awakening is not limited by nationality, culture, or social status. Truth belongs to all humanity, but recognizing it requires openness, a willingness to question assumptions, a willingness to listen, and above all, a willingness to remember. Those who understood the message experienced profound transformation. The gospel of truth describes this change as moving from confusion into knowledge, from fear into peace, from separation into connection. This transformation did not remove people from the world. Instead, it changed how they lived within it. They began seeing life as part of a larger story, a story that began with the Father and would ultimately return to the fullness of that source. The mission of Jesus was to begin this awakening, to plant the seed of remembrance, a seed that would grow through generations. The gospel of truth tells a story not only about a teacher, but about a revelation, a moment when truth entered human history, a message that reminded humanity of something long forgotten, the knowledge of the Father, and the realization that our origin lies within that divine source. But the story does not end with the message itself, because the revelation of truth brought powerful consequences. Truth exposes ignorance. Light reveals what darkness tried to hide. And the next chapter of the story reveals one of the most profound mysteries in the gospel of truth: the meaning of the cross, a symbol that, according to this ancient text, reveals a deeper truth about reality itself. When most people think of the cross, they think of suffering, they think of sacrifice, they think of death. But the gospel of truth presents a radical reinterpretation. The cross is not simply an instrument of punishment. It is a symbol of awakening, a revelation, a signal that humanity's spiritual forgetting can be reversed. And through this lens, the crucifixion becomes not only a historical event, but a profound teaching about reality itself. The gospel of truth frequently uses symbolic imagery to convey meaning. One of its most powerful images is the tree. The ancient text draws a connection between two trees, the tree in the Garden of Eden, associated with knowledge, the cross, where the Word was revealed. Both trees serve as points of recognition. Both trees provide revelation. In the first story, the tree was hidden from humanity. Knowledge of it was obscured. Humans ate without understanding, forgot, and suffered. In the crucifixion, the hidden truth reappears. The cross becomes a tree of revelation, lifting the veil of ignorance. Through it, truth is displayed before the world. Ignorance cannot destroy it. The gospel of truth emphasizes that ignorance and error had dominated humanity for centuries. When the Word appeared in human form, and when the cross lifted him high above the world, the nature of error was revealed. Error cannot endure being illuminated. The cross exposed the illusions humanity had built. Fear disguised as safety, authority disguised as truth, separation disguised as reality. By making the hidden visible, the cross functioned as a cosmic revelation, not merely a human event. A spiritual awakening was initiated. The moment of suffering became the moment of truth. The gospel of truth describes the crucifixion as a confrontation between truth and ignorance. On one hand, there is error, confusion, forgetfulness, fear. On the other hand, there is truth, memory of the Father, recognition, and awakening. The cross reveals the tension between these two forces. It is not merely a historical struggle. It is symbolic of the human condition, how ignorance hides the divine, how revelation exposes error, how recognition restores identity. The Word could not be destroyed, no matter the world's attempt to suppress it. The gospel of truth emphasizes that the cross is a sign for those who can see. It is a signal for seekers of knowledge. Those who are ready to awaken notice it. They perceive the hidden meaning behind the event. Like a star appearing in the night sky, it calls attention to something previously forgotten. The cross, therefore, is not only historical. It is a symbol for all humanity across time. It invites each person to recognize the truth, to remember their origin, to awaken to reality itself. The writer of the Gospel of Truth also points out a profound idea. The message of the cross is universal. It is not confined to a single people or culture. Truth is accessible to anyone willing to awaken. The cross shows that the Word entered the world not only to suffer, but to reveal the hidden source of life, to awaken memory, to restore the connection between humanity and the Father. This revelation transcends borders, empires, and centuries. The gospel of truth reframes human suffering through the lens of recognition. Suffering arises when people forget their origin, when they identify solely with temporary, external realities. The cross demonstrates that suffering does not have the final word. Through the revelation of truth, suffering becomes a means of awakening, not an end. Those who recognize this can begin to see life differently. Life is not meaningless. Life is not a series of random events. Life is a journey toward remembering the crucifixion. In this Gnostic reading is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of recognition. Through the cross, the Word lifts the veil of illusion. The world may attempt to ignore it, but truth persists. Like sunlight behind clouds, the revelation cannot be permanently hidden. The cross teaches that ignorance is temporary, recognition is permanent. Awakening is always possible. By understanding the cross as revelation, humanity can shift perspective. We can see that history is not simply a record of suffering. It is a record of awakening. Every moment, every challenge, every seeming failure contains the potential for remembrance. The gospel of truth invites us to reinterpret our experiences. Confusion is a signal to seek truth. Fear is a reminder of forgetfulness. Trials are opportunities to awaken. The cross embodies this lesson. It is both event and symbol, suffering and enlightenment, death and revelation. The gospel of truth presents the cross not as a tragedy, but as a cosmic revelation, a tree of awakening that lifts humanity toward knowledge. It is a signal that truth cannot be destroyed. Ignorance can only be exposed, and those who are ready to awaken may see beyond the surface of reality. In the next episode, we explore the Book of the Living, a mysterious text described in the Gospel of Truth, where the names of awakened souls are written in the consciousness of the universe, a hidden record of remembrance, recognition, and awakening. What if there were a book not made of paper or ink, not kept in a library or a temple, but written in the consciousness of the universe itself? A book that contains the names of all those who have awakened, all those who have remembered their origin, all those who have recognized the hidden truth of existence. The ancient Gnostic text, known as the Gospel of Truth, describes such a thing. It is called the Book of the Living, and it is far more than a metaphor. It is a profound symbol of memory, recognition, and eternal connection to the source of all life, the Father. According to the Gospel of Truth, the Book of the Living isn't like any book we can hold in our hands. It's a living record inscribed in awareness itself. It contains the names of every soul who has awakened to the truth. These are the people who have remembered their divine origin, who have transcended the fog of forgetfulness that defines so much of human life. They have recognized the Father, the Word, and the hidden reality that lies just behind the visible world. The text emphasizes that this book is eternal. It cannot be erased. It cannot be destroyed. Even death, the great eraser of human history, cannot remove a name from the Book of the Living. Because this book isn't about physical life. It's about spiritual identity. It's a record kept by the universe for the universe. It's a testament to those who have found their way back to the source. To understand this, we have to grasp the power of names. In ancient cultures, a name was never just a label. It represented the core of a person's identity, their very essence. To know someone's name was to understand who they were on the deepest level. The Gospel of Truth takes this principle and applies it spiritually. To have your name written in the Book of the Living is to remember your true divine identity. It's an affirmation that your soul belongs to the source, that you are part of something eternal. The forgotten name, the forgotten self, is restored through the process of spiritual awakening. The moment you recognize your divine origin, you reclaim your true name. Your identity and your connection to the Father become one and the same. It's a profound moment of self-recognition that ripples throughout the cosmos. The Gospel of Truth makes it clear that this awakening is a gradual process. It isn't a single flash of lightning, but a slow dawn. It begins with recognition. First, you must recognize your own ignorance for what it is, a state of forgetfulness, not a permanent reality. Then you must recognize the word, the divine message, when it enters the world to guide you. And finally, you recognize the presence of the Father, the Source, within your own consciousness. Each of these acts of recognition is like writing a new name, or more accurately, restoring your original name in the book of the living. This means awakening is not just a personal journey. It is participatory. By remembering, you are actively contributing to a cosmic record of life, truth, and recognition. The book of the living is the universe acknowledging those who remember it. It's a living dialogue between the individual soul and the cosmic whole. In our earlier discussions, we explored the mission of Jesus and the profound symbolism of the cross as a moment of revelation. The book of the living is deeply connected to this revelation. The gospel of truth teaches that those who respond to the word, those who awaken through its teachings, are the ones whose names are inscribed in this living record. Think of it this way: the cross revealed the nature of error and illusion. The word revealed the nature of truth. The book of the living, then, is the cosmic ledger that records every soul who recognizes that truth and chooses it over illusion. It is the ultimate testimony to awakening. It serves as a permanent reminder to the universe and to humanity itself that knowledge of the source can never be lost forever. It can be forgotten, but it can always be remembered. This leads to a truly stunning idea presented in the Gospel of Truth. Memory is not just personal, it is cosmic. Every single act of recognition, every soul that awakens, strengthens the connection between humanity and the divine source. By remembering, individuals are not just saving themselves. They are participating in the restoration of fullness, the pleroma, the divine completeness that was lost through forgetfulness. The book of the living is the cosmic memory bank, the grand ledger of this remembrance. It exists not on a shelf, but in the very ether of awareness, a realm beyond space and time. It testifies to the incredible reality that awakening is not just an isolated event for one person. It is a universal process available to all who genuinely seek the truth. Every awakening is a victory for the cosmos. And what happens to these names? The text suggests that the names written in the book of the living are eternal. Even when the physical body dies, even when human institutions crumble and memories fade, the awakened soul remains recognized by the universe. Its identity is secure. This is the ultimate victory over the forces of error and forgetfulness. Recognition is permanent. Awakening cannot be erased. In a world that often feels chaotic, temporary, and incomplete, the book of the living offers a profound sense of stability. It reminds us that truth is eternal, even if human history is a flickering story of confusion. Your true self, once recognized, is forever known by the source of all being. So how does one enter this book? How is a name inscribed? The Gospel of Truth is very clear on this. No one is automatically inscribed. It isn't a matter of birthright or belonging to a certain group. Awakening requires conscious, active participation. It requires a conscious recognition of truth when you encounter it. It requires a deep willingness to remember your true origin, to look beyond the material world. It demands an openness to the Word when it appears in your life, offering guidance. And it calls for participation in the great work of restoring fullness. This isn't about following dogma or performing rituals. It's about direct, personal experience. It's about the inner journey of the soul. The Book of the Living is therefore not just a static record. It is a dynamic map of awakening. Each name is a beacon, a marker of someone who has remembered, recognized, and returned to a conscious connection with the Source. The Gospel of Truth ends this section not with a declaration, but with an invitation. Humanity is not doomed to forget. The state of amnesia is not our final destiny. Memory can return. Names can be written, or rather remembered, in the Book of the Living. The universe itself waits for our recognition. Every act of awakening, every small moment of remembering who you truly are, strengthens this cosmic record. Each one of us has the potential to see beyond the illusion, to step out of the fog of forgetfulness. Each one of us can participate in this eternal story of recognition, remembrance, and the triumphant return to the Source. Ultimately, the Book of the Living is more than a beautiful metaphor. It's a symbol of hope, identity, and unbreakable connection. It's a powerful reminder that our existence is not accidental and that our inner journey has cosmic significance. Every act of awakening matters. Every moment of recognition helps restore fullness to the universe. In our next episode, we will explore a question that lies at the very heart of the Gospel of Truth. Are we living in a dream? The ancient text compares human life to an illusion and shows how the process of awakening can completely transform our perception of identity, reality, and life itself. Thank you for watching. Have you ever felt that life is unreal? That the world is slipping through your fingers? That people, places, and events sometimes seem like a dream? A Gospel of Truth suggests this perception is not an illusion of imagination alone. Humanity is, in fact, living in a state of forgetfulness, a kind of spiritual dream, a dream created by error, confusion, and the forgetting of the Source, the Father. And according to the ancient text, awakening from this dream is the ultimate purpose of human existence. The Gospel of Truth teaches that humanity was once connected to the fullness of the Father, but through forgetfulness a veil fell over human consciousness. Life became like a dream. People chased temporary pleasures, they clung to fear and false beliefs, they identified with transient roles instead of eternal reality. In this dream, the world appears chaotic. Pain seems real. Suffering seems permanent. But the text says that what humanity experiences is partial reality, filtered through forgetfulness. Who creates this dream? Not a conscious being, not a deity punishing humanity, but error, the state of forgetting itself. Error clouds perception. It distorts understanding. It convinces people that separation, limitation, and mortality are ultimate truths. The result, a dreamlike existence where humans wander, lost and searching, like sleepers chasing shadows in a half-lit room. Into this dream enters the Word, the revealer of truth. The Gospel of Truth emphasizes that the Word awakens humanity from forgetfulness. The Word is not simply teaching. It is illumination. It is recognition. When a person hears the Word, something within them stirs a memory of what was always true. Suddenly, the dream is pierced by clarity. Illusion loses power. Confusion begins to lift. Awareness reconnects with the Source. The Word acts like a light striking through darkness, showing what was always there but previously hidden. How does one know they are awakening from the dream? The Gospel of Truth lists signs: recognition of the self, a sense that you are more than body and circumstance; recognition of the Father, a connection to something eternal and real recognition of error, the ability to see illusions in thought, society, and perception. These are not intellectual understandings alone. They are experiences of deep knowing, moments where the dream seems to shift and reality begins to emerge. The text presents life as a tension between two states, the dream of error, the awakening to truth. Humans move between these states. Sometimes forgetfulness pulls them back. Sometimes remembrance propels them forward. The cross and the word are symbols that guide humanity toward recognition. The gospel of truth emphasizes that awakening is not instantaneous. It is a gradual process of remembering, seeing, and knowing. Even for those still in forgetfulness, the text provides reassurance. The dream is not eternal. The word is always present. Awakening can occur at any moment. The text encourages seekers to remain attentive, observe the illusions around you, question assumptions. Listen for the voice of the word. The dream may seem overwhelming, but recognition is always possible. The gospel of truth also emphasizes that the dream is shaped by perceived time and space. Humans often identify with past mistakes or future anxieties. They forget the present moment, the eternal now, where recognition occurs. The word restores perspective, showing that life is not linear limitation. Awakening brings the realization that existence is a continuum of fullness, where the dream is temporary and recognition eternal. Those who awaken experience a profound shift. Fear loses its grip, separation feels illusory. Identity aligns with the source. Life becomes an opportunity to remember and participate in fullness. The gospel of truth describes this as joy. A joy that is deeper than pleasure. A joy rooted in the recognition of ultimate truth. The dream has not disappeared, but its illusions no longer dominate perception. If the world feels unreal, if life sometimes seems like a dream, take heart. The gospel of truth teaches that awakening is possible. The word can pierce the veil. Recognition can restore memory. Names can be written in the book of the living. The dream of forgetfulness is not final. In the next episode, we explore the mystical knowledge of the pleroma, the fullness from which all life emerges and to which all life and beings return. A reality so vast and profound that the gospel of truth says it can only be known through recognition, not imagination. What if the universe was more than it seems? More than matter, more than chaos, more than fleeting moments of human experience? The gospel of truth presents a vision of reality called the pleroma, the fullness, a dimension of existence so complete, so perfect, so luminous, that all of creation flows from it. The pleroma is not a distant place. It is the source of life, knowledge, and being itself. And the journey of awakening, the ultimate purpose of humanity, is to return to this fullness. The pleroma is the divine realm of completeness. The gospel of truth describes it as the home of the Father and all the eternal powers. It is a realm where error does not exist, forgetfulness is impossible, knowledge and identity are whole. Everything in the pleroma exists in perfect harmony. The text calls it fullness because nothing is missing. From the pleroma flows creation, but as life extends outward, humans experience partial reality. The forgetting begins. The dream of separation emerges, and humanity loses awareness of the source. The gospel of truth explains that humans are like travelers separated from home. We live in the world of partial reality, sometimes called the visible realm. Here, ignorance and error dominate perception, but the pleroma remains constant, unchanged and unshakable. It is the eternal backdrop against which the human story unfolds. Humans may forget, stumble, or wander, but the path to the pleroma is always open to those willing to recognize the Word and remember the source. The Word, manifested through the teachings of Jesus, acts as the bridge to fullness. The gospel of truth emphasizes. The Word illuminates the path back to the pleroma. It awakens memory of the divine origin. It restores the connection between human consciousness and the source. The Word does not destroy the world. It guides it. It calls forth remembrance, revealing the pleroma's presence within and beyond all things. Those who follow this path begin the process of returning to fullness. Returning to the pleroma is not instantaneous. The gospel of truth presents it as a journey of awakening, recognition of forgetfulness, seeing error for what it is, reception of the Word, hearing, and experiencing revelation, integration of knowledge, aligning perception with the divine reality, participation in fullness, living in awareness of connection to the source. Every act of remembering, every recognition, every moment of awakening brings the individual closer to the pleroma. It is a gradual transformation from partiality to wholeness, from illusion to recognition. The pleroma is not merely symbolic. It is described as a complex spiritual architecture of powers, emanations, and divine forces. These emanations, sometimes called eons, represent aspects of the Father. They form a network of consciousness, a system of divine completeness. Human souls, through recognition and awakening, reconnect with these emanations. The text likens this to threads of light weaving back into the source, restoring harmony and fullness. One of the most profound aspects of the pleroma is unity. In the fullness, there is no separation. There is no hierarchy of value. Every expression of life is recognized as part of the whole. Humanity's forgetfulness creates the illusion of division. But awakening restores the understanding that all existence participates in the pleroma. This unity is the ultimate purpose of awakening, according to the gospel of truth. Those who begin returning to the pleroma experience peace beyond understanding, clarity of mind and heart, recognition of eternal identity, joy rooted in connection. Not circumstance, the text emphasizes that this is not an escape from the world, but a transformation of perception. Humans can live in the world, see it fully, and yet remain anchored in the pleroma. Every act of recognition expands awareness of the source. The journey becomes one of conscious participation in divine fullness. The gospel of truth concludes this teaching with an invitation. All humans are capable of returning to the pleroma. The path is revealed through the Word. Awakening is possible at any moment. Each recognition, each act of remembrance is a step back toward completeness. The pleroma is not only a destination, it is also a presence that can be experienced here and now. By aligning consciousness with the source, one participates in the eternal reality of fullness. The pleroma is the ultimate vision of the gospel of truth, a reality of completeness, unity, and eternal awareness. Humanity's journey is a journey back to this fullness. Every act of recognition, every awakening, every remembrance restores connection. In the next episode, we explore the powers of awakening in everyday life, how recognition of the Word and connection to the pleroma transforms human experience, relationships, and perception of reality itself. What does it mean to awaken while still living in the world? The gospel of truth teaches that recognition is not only a spiritual event. It transforms how we think, how we act, how we relate to others, and how we perceive reality itself. Awakening is not an escape, it is a full participation in life. Today, we explore what happens when memory returns, when error loses its grip, and when humanity begins to live consciously in alignment with the pleroma, the fullness of the Father. The first change an awakened person experiences is perception. The gospel of truth emphasizes that the world does not change immediately, but the way we see it does. Illusions of fear begin to fade. Confusion gives way to clarity. Ordinary events are seen as expressions of the fullness. Every moment becomes an opportunity for recognition. For instance, a sunrise is no longer just a physical phenomenon, it is a reflection of divine order. A conversation is not just words, it is an exchange of consciousness. Challenges are not obstacles, they are invitations to awaken. The awakened see life not as fragmented, but as a continuous flow from the source. The gospel of truth teaches that forgetfulness is the origin of fear. Humans fear death, failure, separation, and uncertainty because they have forgotten their origin. Recognition restores memory. The soul remembers it belongs to the Father. Error loses authority. Fear becomes a teacher, not a tyrant. Awakened individuals act from trust in reality, not from compulsion or anxiety. They move through the world with confidence, grounded in knowledge of the source. Awakening also transforms relationships. The gospel of truth suggests that most human conflict stems from forgetting. Misunderstandings arise from misperceptions. Attachment creates suffering. Separation leads to envy, competition, and fear. When memory returns, compassion replaces judgment, recognition replaces projection, connection replaces isolation. Awakened people recognize the divine spark in others, understanding that every being participates in the pleroma. Conflict may still arise, but it is approached from awareness rather than reaction. The gospel of truth implies that recognition is an active practice, not a passive state. This includes reflection, observing thoughts, emotions, and reactions without identifying with them, contemplation of the Word, meditating on teachings that awaken memory, mindful engagement, seeing everyday life as a vehicle for recognition. Through these practices, the awakened gradually weave the experience of the pleroma into daily life. Life itself becomes a living classroom, where every moment carries the potential for awakening. The gospel of truth also emphasizes seeing error clearly, without attachment or fear. Awakened individuals notice illusions in society, misconceptions in culture, patterns of forgetfulness in themselves, but they do not become cynical or despairing. Instead, recognition motivates constructive action, speaking truth when appropriate, living with integrity, supporting awakening in others. The awakened understand that error exists, but it does not define reality. Awakening brings the experience of fullness into ordinary life. Eating becomes communion with creation. Walking becomes awareness of being. Work becomes participation in the flow of life. The gospel of truth emphasizes that the pleroma is not distant. It is accessible here and now, in every action, every thought, every moment of conscious presence. The awakened live as though life itself is a mirror of the source. The transformation of one awakened individual can ripple outward. The gospel of truth suggests recognition inspires recognition in others. Memory spreads through example and presence. Awakening restores harmony in relationships, communities, and even societies. Awakening is therefore both personal and cosmic. Each person returning to fullness strengthens the connection of humanity to the source. The book of the living grows. Names are inscribed. Memory is restored. The journey of living with recognition is ongoing. Forgetfulness can return error, can cloud perception. Distraction can obscure awareness, but the gospel of truth reassures. The word is always present. Recognition can always return. Awakening is not a destination, it is a living practice. Every choice, every reflection, every moment of awareness brings the individual closer to fullness. Awakening transforms everyday life. It restores perception, dissolves fear, heals relationships, and reconnects humanity to the pleroma. Life becomes a participation in the divine reality, not a struggle against it. In the next and final episode, we explore the culmination of awakening, the full return to the pleroma, the final reconciliation of the human soul with the source, and the eternal implications of recognition. What happens after the long journey of awakening? After remembering the Father, recognizing the Word, and living consciously in the world, what comes next? The gospel of truth teaches us that there is a culmination, a grand finale. It speaks of a return to the pleroma, the fullness of divine reality. This is a restoration of memory, identity, and connection so profound that nothing can ever erase it. This is the final stage of awakening, a moment where life, consciousness, and eternity converge into one. The gospel of truth describes this last awakening as a complete and total recognition. All the fog of forgetfulness dissolves completely. Every error, every misstep is illuminated by truth. The soul finally sees itself exactly as it is, a child of the Father, a participant in the divine fullness, and a bearer of an eternal identity. At this stage, there is no longer any separation between the self and the source. The soul understands with absolute clarity that there is nothing to fear, nothing to acquire, and nothing to lose. This recognition is absolute and unshakable. This final awakening also brings a profound reconciliation with the past. All those moments of forgetfulness, confusion, and error are finally understood not as failures, but as necessary steps on the journey home. The gospel of truth emphasizes a powerful idea. Suffering was never final, and misperception was only temporary. Every single act of recognition, no matter how small, contributes to building our eternal memory. The soul begins to see life as a continuous, unbroken thread of awakening, weaving together the past, the present, and an eternal awareness into a beautiful tapestry. Once fully awakened, the soul rejoins the pleroma. The gospel of truth describes this as a return to completeness, a state of perfect wholeness. All the powers and emanations of the Father are recognized and embraced. Error no longer has any power to dominate our perception. The soul participates fully and consciously in the eternal harmony of all that is. Now, this isn't some abstract philosophical idea. It is a lived, felt reality of eternal connection. The individual becomes inseparable from the source, yet amazingly retains a clear awareness and recognition of the world around them. It's the ultimate state of being both one and distinct. This final awakening inscribes the soul's name permanently in what the text calls the book of the living. Once your name is there, forgetfulness becomes impossible. Your memory is eternal, and your recognition of your divine identity is complete and forever secure. The Gospel of Truth presents the Book of the Living as a kind of cosmic ledger, a record of all the awakened souls. Each name written in it represents awareness restored, connection to the source reestablished, and full participation in the eternal fullness. The universe itself acknowledges and celebrates those who have remembered who they truly are. Even before fully returning to the pleroma, this process of awakening radically transforms our human experience. The Gospel of Truth emphasizes that every action we take becomes a conscious participation in creation itself. Our relationships begin to reflect the divine connection we feel within. The challenges and difficulties of life are no longer seen as obstacles, but as opportunities for deeper recognition and growth. The final stage isn't about withdrawing from life or escaping the world. It's about living fully in a state of recognition, right here and right now, while simultaneously merging with the eternal fullness that is our true home. The ultimate teaching of the Gospel of Truth is that awakening is the very purpose of humanity. Life is not a random, meaningless series of events. Our forgetfulness is only temporary, but our recognition is eternal. The Word, the divine consciousness, enters the world specifically to awaken our memory. The story of the cross reveals a deeper truth about sacrifice and love. The Book of the Living records the names of the awakened, and the pleroma joyfully receives every returning soul. Every single stage of the journey points toward the same ultimate goal, full, conscious participation in the divine reality. The text portrays this final awakening as a joyous, celebratory return. Light replaces darkness, knowledge replaces error, and unity replaces the painful illusion of separation. The Gospel of Truth likens this to a grand cosmic reunion. A soul finally returns home, remembering the Father, and rejoices in an unbreakable eternal connection. This isn't just a distant hope for some far-off future. It is the direct fulfillment of the journey that begins the moment we recognize truth and decide to participate consciously in the world. So the Gospel of Truth concludes with a personal invitation. It's an invitation to you, to me, to everyone. You, too, are capable of awakening. You can recognize the Word within and around you. You can remember the Father, the divine source from which you came. You can choose to live in fullness, right now and for all eternity. This journey is deeply personal. It is profoundly transformative, and the final awakening is not reserved for some distant future or a select few. It begins with your conscious recognition today. In the end, the Gospel of Truth finishes right where it began. The journey starts from the hidden Father, flows through the Word, leads us into recognition, and culminates in eternal fullness. Awakening is both the journey and the destination. Memory is both a gift we receive and a practice we cultivate. And the ultimate truth is this: the soul belongs to the pleroma. Recognition is what restores our true identity, and eternity itself acknowledges and welcomes those who awaken. The journey is complete, but its influence, its light, and its love continue forever. This is the final awakening, the return to fullness, the eternal recognition. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more journeys into the heart of wisdom.